Jenny. Every week I make craft videos for children and families at New Life Church Letchworth, and today I'm making one for you. Your theme at Make Lunch this week has been the circus, so we have a circus craft that I hope you will enjoy. Today we're going to make a clown's trumpet. To make your trumpet or your horn, you will need a piece of A4 paper, some scissors, some sellotape and some coloured pens. Take your piece of A4 paper and fold it in half. Now, about halfway across the bottom, you want to make a little mark. On this open edge, you want to come down about a third of the way, and you want to draw a line that connects up this to this dot down here. Next, you need to draw a line that goes around here in a semicircle till you get to about this point here. It will look like this. This is the folded edge and this is the open edge, and cut it out. Now you have to have some fun and you can colour in your paper. So you might want to do it with some patterns on it, or you might want to do it with some dots, or you might want to do it with some lines. It's totally up to you. Now take your coloured in piece of paper and you want to roll it up from the side down here. Use some sticky tape just to secure it in place. And there you have it, you've made your trumpet or your horn. There are some great stories in the Bible about people and trumpets. There once was someone called Joshua who marched around the walls of a city called Jericho, and by being obedient to God, blowing a trumpet, and on the last lap round, the walls of the city came tumbling down. There was also someone called Gideon. Gideon was not the most likely character to be chosen by God, but he was also obedient, and with his torch and his horn, he went on to do some great things.
The Bible. It's 66 books of history, stories, letters, and poetry that fit together to form God's one big story. The epic adventure of how He created us and loves us so much that He made a way to rescue us. As we travel through the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, we discover people who met God and found their lives changed forever. Now, for an amazing story, inspired by the book of Judges, chapters 6 through 8.
As many times before, the Israelites turned away from God. He allowed the Midianites to take over their land. God's people hid out in caves. When they tried to grow plants or tend to livestock, the Midianites would show up and destroy their crops and animals. At last, the Israelites cried out to God for help. He heard them and sent the angel of the Lord to a man named Gideon, who was threshing grain in a winepress.
Mighty warrior, the Lord is with you.
All Gideon could do for a moment was stop and stare.
Pardon me, sir. You said the Lord is with us? Then why has all this happened? The Lord has deserted us.
You are strong. Go and save Israel from the power of Midian. I am sending you.
Pardon me, sir, but how can I possibly save Israel? My family is the weakest in the tribe, and I'm the least important member.
I will be with you.
Even with a direct message from the Lord, Gideon was still nervous about the whole thing.
Give me a special sign. Then I'll know it's really you talking to me.
So God gave Gideon a sign, sending fire to burn up meat and bread. God's spirit was with Gideon. And when the Midianites and the Amalekites gathered to attack, Gideon sounded a trumpet for the Israelites to follow him. But even as the army gathered, Gideon once again pleaded to God for another sign. God responded by letting dew fall on a fleece, and then on the next day, only on the ground surrounding it.
Okay, I've got it. Thank you.
At last, Gideon was convinced God wanted to use him. He camped with 32,000 men at the spring of Harod and prepared for battle. Here, God spoke again.
I want to hand Midian over to you, but you have too many men.
Too many?
Israel might brag, my own strength has saved me. Announce to the army, those who tremble with fear can turn back.
Gideon did just as the Lord instructed.
There, Lord. 22,000 men have gone home. Only 10,000 left to fight.
There are still too many men.
Have you seen the Midianite army?
Take the men down to the water. There I will reduce the number of them for you.
Even though it must have worried Gideon to lose more of his army, he did just as the Lord said.
Field trip to the lake, everyone!
At the water's edge, the Lord said,
Some men will drink the way dogs do. They will lap up the water with their tongues. Separate them from those who get down on their knees to drink.
Gideon watched carefully. Most men got on their knees and drank directly from the water, but 300 men cupped the water in their hands and lifted them to their mouths to lap.
So, God, I send those 300 men home and keep the other 9,700, right?
With the help of the 300 men who lapped up the water, I will save you. Let all the other men go home.
Oh. Okay. Yes.
Gideon sent home every single person in the army except those 300 men.
Get some sleep. Tomorrow we will figure out what's next.
That night, the Lord spoke to Gideon once more.
Get up.
What? Oh, I'm awake.
Gideon stumbled out of his tent. Below, the campfires and torches of the enemy armies covered the entire valley.
So many. Like a swarm of locusts.
Go down to the camp. Listen to what they are saying. After that, you will not be afraid to attack.
Wondering if he might be dreaming, Gideon snuck down the mountain to hover in the shadows at the edge of the camp. He could hear voices from a nearby tent.
I had a dream. A round loaf of barley bread came rolling into the camp. It hit the tent with great force and knocked it flat.
Wow, but that can only be the sword of Gideon from Israel. God has given him the whole camp.
Gideon listened in shock.
Wow, God. Thank you.
At once, Gideon scrambled back up the hill to the Israelite camp.
Get up! Get up! The Lord has handed the Midianites over to you.
Quickly, Gideon separated the 300 men into 3 groups and handed each one a trumpet and a clay jar with a torch inside.
Watch me. Do what I do. I'll go to the edge of the enemy camp. Then we'll blow our trumpets from all around the camp and shout, "For the Lord and for Gideon!"
Gideon and his men headed quietly down the slope, fanning out in groups to surround the vast enemy camp.
Okay, get ready.
As soon as Gideon sounded his trumpet, he smashed his jar so the torch shone brightly. The other 300 men did the same.
For the Lord! A sword for the Lord! Gideon!
The Israelites held their ground, but their enemies panicked, confused by the trumpets and bright lights that pierced the dark night.
They're coming from everywhere.
The enemy armies were so confused, they began to fight each other, and then they fled in fear.
After the men!
Gideon and the Israelites chased their enemies all the way to the Jordan River and beyond until all the enemy armies were destroyed. The Israelites begged Gideon to rule over them.
I will not rule over you. The Lord will rule over you.
Yep, Gideon was an underdog, filled with doubt, but he still chose to follow God, and God used him to save the Israelites.
What an amazing craft. Thank you so much, Jenny. If you enjoyed that craft and the story and you'd like to watch the whole session, why don't you head over to the YouTube channel? You'll find the details here at the bottom of the screen. And when you get there, search up Superstars, June the 20th, and you'll hear more about a guy called Gideon and the amazing part he had to play in God's big plan. When you get there, you'll see there's loads of other sessions that you can watch too. I really hope you'll enjoy them. And if you ever fancy joining us in person, then the details for our meetings will follow at the end of this video. Enjoy, God bless.